Way. Michael Keaton gives advice to his unborn child in My Life. And swashbucklers Chris O'Donnell, Kiefer Sutherland, and Charlie Sheen star in The Three Musketeers.
Gotta do this, just this one thing, and then I'm out. I owe Dave.
You don't know him. You think you do, Charlie? That's the problem with you. That's why nobody like you gets out, no matter what they say.
Oscar winner Al Pacino, in shades of his hit thriller Scarface, once again plays a drug dealer trying to avoid a violent end in Carlito's Way, one of 5 new films we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel Ebert, along with a hip version of The Three Musketeers and new films with Harvey Keitel and Michael Keaton. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. Our first movie is Carlito's Way, and this is another hard-boiled, colorful look at the criminal way of life by director Brian De Palma and actor Al Pacino, who collaborated on the unforgettable Scarface 10 years ago. This time, Pacino plays Carlito Briganti, a big man in New York drug circles, until he goes to prison and loses touch with the street. Freed after 5 years of a 30-year term, Carlito plays his hearing like an acceptance speech at an award ceremony.
Completely rehabilitated, reinvigorated, reassimilated, and finally going to be relocated. And I want to thank a lot of people for that.
When he comes out again, he wants to go straight. He keeps his nose clean while becoming a partner in a nightclub, hoping to make enough money to move to the Bahamas and open a legitimate business.
Charlie, please, you can't do this. Benny Blanco spends a lot of money here.
Oh, he's a nickel bagger. Come on.
What happened to you? What are you acting like this for? It doesn't make sense you should hate this guy, because this guy is you 20 years ago.
Never me. Never me.
Carlito's lawyer in the film is played in a brilliant performance by Sean Penn, who is almost unrecognizable here as a man who has crossed over the line from the law into crime.
I'm in an impossible situation here. Once I get Tony on shore, there's a distinct possibility that he and his Goomba son have got some plans for me.
This is Sean Penn's first movie role in 3 years, and another reminder of how good an actor he really is. The movie also co-stars Penelope Ann Miller as Carlito's girlfriend, who never quite understands all of the trouble he's in.
We can, bust the chain. Chase me around the apartment. Get me naked.
In his movie The Untouchables, De Palma staged a shootout in Chicago's Union Station. This time, it's the turn of New York's Grand Central Station as mobsters chase Carlito looking for revenge. Carlito's Way is a big, smart, energetic film that seems to know a lot about the world of New York's professional criminals. The film is narrated by Pacino as Carlito, and he tells us what he's thinking as he negotiates his way through the minefields of enemies and former friends. His attempt to go straight has a counterpoint in Sean Penn's lawyer, who gets mired in cocaine and double-crosses himself into a lot of trouble. Pacino gives an interesting performance, aggressive but also thoughtful and a little sad. Now, there are times when his accent owes more to his character in Sin of a Woman than to a Puerto Rican gangster, but, you know, that didn't bother me, and I really got absorbed in this movie.
I only got absorbed at the end in the chase in Grand Central Station, which is very well done, and it's something that Brian De Palma knows how to do very, very well. But before that, I must say, I had the same kind of objections I had to Scarface, which was that it was about a character that I really wasn't interested in because of the movie makes his behavior heroic in a way that I didn't think it deserved.
It wasn't heroic, Gene. He's just a guy who used to be a criminal, and now he doesn't want to be a criminal anymore, and it shows how difficult that is for him because all of his connections are with the wrong people.
I'm talking about the look and style of the film.
Terrific look, great style.
I'm talking about the way that it tends to romance the scuzzy behavior in the beginning, in the courtroom scene at the beginning, in early violent action in the bar. I have another problem, that the relationship with the girlfriend, a real hackneyed character of the woman who wants to be a dancer on Broadway but has to work in a strip
Now, what
club.
about Sean Penn?
Well, I will tell you this.
What?
His performance is good because
Yes.
I did not recognize him.
No.
I didn't recognize him at all.
And he's very convincing.
But the character, again, I thought was way
The
over the
character
top.
was right on the mark.
Way over the top.
Right on the mark.
Way over the top. I didn't believe it for a second that the lawyer would be that ridiculous.
I don't know what it
laughable.
is about. There's something combination of De Palma and Pacino that just turns you off. I don't know what it is.
Actually, it's more De Palma than it is Pacino when they're working in these two films. I've liked other work by both of them a lot of the times. Okay, our next film is called The Piano, and this is a remarkable film that shared the top prize at this year's Cannes Film Festival. It's from New Zealand, and director Jane Campion, who makes remarkable films about women cut off from mainstream society. In this case, it's a mute woman, played by Holly Hunter, in 19th century New Zealand, brought to a remote coast with her young daughter to marry a settler, played by Sam Neill. But she's more attached to her piano than to him, which might explain why he decides to swap the piano for some of his neighbor's land.
And he wants to improve himself. And he'll be able to play it. Teach him how to look after it.
A strained love triangle develops when sparks fly between Hunter and that neighbor with the piano now, played by Harvey Keitel. At first, he bribes her for physical contact by proposing a trade, sexual favors in exchange for getting her piano back.
Play.
Later, a real sexual relationship develops between them.
I have given the piano back to you. I've had enough. The arrangement is making you a whore and me wretched.
And what will stay with you in this film, along with the very real passion of it, is director Jane Campion's flawless recreation of time and place, jungle sights and sounds, and a remarkably fresh portrayal of Maori natives who simply suffer the presence of these colonial white folks. Jane Campion's previous film, Sweetie and the Great An Angel at My Table, also explored cauterized women coming into their own. She makes heroic films about seemingly lost souls. The Piano is another superior effort from Jane Campion, a world-class director, I think.
Yes, she is, and yes, it is, and it is so amazing here how carefully and movingly she portrays these people living right at the edge of the world. They just have a little kind of a foothold on the beach there of this continent that they have hardly even looked at, and they are so lonely and so cut off from each other, and this woman who is cut off even from herself and only plays the piano is such an unforgettable fictional character.
The other thing that I like about it, this film is set in the 19th century. That doesn't mean that the people have to be dumb like you get it so often in period films. You know how that happens? It's like you move it back a century.
I'm really stupid because I don't have a telephone.
And so what you have is some very smart sort of contemporary thinking and statements by the natives, by her, and their reaction, and that makes the film even more fresh.
These performances, Keitel, who I think will get an Academy Award nomination.
Well, he takes a lot of risks.
Holly Hunter, who manages without speaking. She becomes the center of the film. You're always turning to her. How is she reacting to this? How does she look? How is she taking this?
And I love what Jane Campion does as a woman director. Let's face it, her interest is in women who are shut down and open up and flower, and she makes it real dramatic.
It's a terrific film. When we come back, Michael Keaton is a man coming to terms with his own death in My Life.
We got the lab reports back this morning. There's been no reduction in tumor size or density.
In this world, there just isn't. So, I wanted to leave you this videotape, for better or for worse, so that you know something about me.
That's Michael Keaton there, speaking into a video recorder, leaving a tape behind for his child, who Keaton doesn't expect ever to see. Keaton plays a man with terminal cancer and only months to live, who tries to come to terms with that fact, to set his life in order, and to leave a lot of advice behind for his unborn child.
There are basically two schools of shaving, okay? Down, like that, or up, like that. Never, I repeat, never, sideways, like that.
Keaton's wife, played by Nicole Kidman, loves him despite the fact that he's hard to live with, but she feels betrayed when she finds out about his videotape sessions.
Why can't you tell me these things? Why is it you can tell all this to a camera? You can open your heart to a machine. I'm flesh and blood. I'm here for you anytime.
The movie follows the course of his cancer as he tries all kinds of approaches, from conventional medicine to Chinese medicine to vitamins and secret formulas.
God, how can you drink that?
Not too bad, really. You know, when you get to that chewy center.
My Life is a movie with some very honest and painful moments in it and some good performances, but I never quite felt the reaction that I think I was supposed to have during this film. It wanted me to identify completely with this dying man who has a lot of anger inside and finally is able to make peace with the family that he's ashamed of and the friends that he hardly knows. But the movie wasn't quite tough enough on him, and it kept trying to lighten things up with scenes that belong more in a sitcom, not in a serious drama. And then there was a subplot involving a wise old Chinese doctor that had lots of metaphysics and flashes of psychic light, but it never really paid off. It was like a sideshow. This is 3/4 of a serious movie, sabotaged by cheap laughs and soft-hearted compromises.
You know, it did have a positive reaction on me, Roger. I thought about all the things that you would want to, they would want to have me think about, which is, you know, would I want to do the similar kind of videotaping for my kids? Would I want to make up with old enemies? I think I have that many. But, you know, that kind of thing. So the film got me in that way. You're absolutely right. The Chinese medicine stuff doesn't make any sense. It's sort of beneath the movie, the flashes of light. This is from the same writer as Ghost, so he obviously has a preoccupation with the afterlife, you know, but I did get involved in the film.
You know, what I wonder is whether they didn't start out with a really serious and uncompromised film and then try to lighten it up. For example, the montage where he's buying toys for his unborn child, and he's in the toy store, and he pulls out one little beach ball, and of course, millions of beach balls fall all over the floor. That's out of TV commercial land, you know?
But Roger, that lasts 10 seconds.
The whole montage was unnecessary, and there are some other moments just like that. It's as if they're saying, oh, this is so dark that we have to throw in some dumb stuff here to let the audience off the hook.
They may have done exactly what you said, but I don't think it takes away from the fact that you will get emotionally involved. At least I got emotionally involved with Michael Keaton's predicament. Coming up next, a new version of the Three Musketeers, updated for the 90s.
Only a fool would try and arrest us twice in one day.
You're under arrest.
A fool.
Kiefer Sutherland and Charlie Sheen there are just two of the hip new Three Musketeers in this surprisingly enjoyable remake, and I was really surprised by this picture. It proves that any old story can be made compelling with fresh writing and buoyant performances. Here, Chris O'Donnell from Son of a Woman plays a would-be musketeer who joins forces with the regulars, Kiefer Sutherland, Oliver Platt, and Charlie Sheen.
I may not wear the tunic, but I believe I have the heart of a musketeer.
Warrior. Poet. You got a name, boy?
D'Artagnan.
Athos, Porthos, and Aramis.
Hello. Nice to meet you again.
Pleasure.
Spicing up the action, Tim Curry as the scheming Cardinal Richelieu in a wonderful performance. In conflict with vampy Lady de Winter, Rebecca de Mornay each wants money and power, but obviously Richelieu wants even more.
A word of caution, my lady. A snap of my fingers, and you could be back on the block where I found you.
And with a flick of my wrist, I could change your religion.
Yes, of course, there are sword fights, plenty of them. And again, surprise, they're not boring.
I think our young friend could use some help.
Hold this.
This new version of the Three Musketeers is not a major film, but it's a whole lot more enjoyable than, let's say, that dismal Robin Hood remake with Kevin Costner that was so popular years ago. Everyone appears to be having a good time in this film without camping up things too much. I paid attention all the way through, and boy, I did not expect to.
Well, I knew I disagreed with you when you said you liked this film, but when you said that it was better than Kevin Costner's Robin Hood, I think you have taken leave of your senses, because
you didn't like Robin
no
Hood?
comparison between the two films, though, because this movie is just it does it by the numbers. It doesn't interest me. The characters aren't, there's no drama. It's just people riding around on horses, sword fighting with each other, you know, one for one, all for one, and
Roger,
it doesn't add up to anything.
I thought, first of all, costume dramas, I don't like them as a rule. They're very tough to get me involved. I thought this was light, fun, frothy, and I liked it just on that basis. And the Costner picture, you didn't like it.
It was light and it was frothy, but it wasn't fun.
Oh, okay. When we come back, an irreverent new sex comedy from Spain, Jamon Jamon is next.
Our next movie is named Jamon Jamon. That's J-A-M-O-N. I think it means, in fact, I'm sure it means ham in Spanish. And this is the kind of good-bad movie, so awful it's brilliant, that you don't see much of anymore. It's a comedy, it's a lurid sex melodrama, it's a soap opera, and it's a parody of itself, and I laughed a whole lot. The movie begins with a love affair between a rich kid and the sexy daughter of a local prostitute. When the son brings his fiancée and her mother to meet his parents, there are immediate fireworks.
¿Qué hace tu padre hablando con esa puta? ¿Quién la invita?
La he invitado yo.
¿Y por qué?
Porque es mi madre.
To discourage her son from marrying this girl, the rich kid's mother hires the neighborhood stud, Raul, to seduce the young woman. The stud works at a ham factory, and he looks good to the rich woman.
Para que te ganes un dinero, naturalmente. Para ti va a ser muy fácil, ya verás.
Turns out Raul is also an underwear model, a point he uses in an attempt to seduce the young woman.
Bueno, pues ya te he visto.
¿Qué pasa? ¿No te ha gustado?
Eres un guarro.
Una jamona.
Meanwhile, what nobody knows is that the rich kid and his girlfriend's mother have also been seeing one another.
Nada me haría tan feliz como que te casaras con Silvia. Y si es así, no quiero verte más por aquí.
Jamon Jamon piles one thing on top of another, a giant ham and sex sandwich. It's like a collision between a Jackie Collins novel and a movie by Pedro Almodovar with a little Russ Meyer thrown in. There is nothing it won't do for a laugh or for sensationalism, satire, or sex. The scene involving the pig and the garlic is worth the price of admission all by itself.
Well, I think, you know, this is a case where obviously you decided you were going to laugh with the film and rather than laugh at it, and I did the latter. I mean, I thought it was pretty bad. There's a very pretty woman in the picture. When she was on the screen, she's obviously very attractive. I looked at the film. That's the only time I enjoyed it. The rest I thought was really
You're actually telling me now that you like the Three Musketeers better than Jamon Jamon.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that if anybody is watching who happens to see those two pictures, I would enjoy very much hearing from them so that we can determine which of us has his head screwed on.
In other words, you're going to divine yourself by the audience reaction to your review.
Well, no, I just think that a lot of people agree with sensible opinions, and so obviously they will agree with mine.
Me. Yes. Okay, coming up next, our video pick of the week in honor of Carlito's Way, a favorite Al Pacino film from early in his career. You may not have seen it.
Siskel and Ebert's video pick of the week, brought to you by Orville Redenbacher, the first and last name in popcorn.
Obviously, Carlito's Way is not among my favorite Al Pacino films. So for our video pick of the week, I thought I'd recommend one of his superior early performances. My choice, his first leading role in The Panic in Needle Park by Jerry Schatzberg from 1971, where he plays a junkie. Pacino was 30 years old when he made this film.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go up to 119th Street for me. I want you to score for me.
What captured everyone's attention in this film is Pacino's decency beneath the sleaze in his characterization.
I know a guy down the hall in one of the rooms, and he told me. He said, there's this terrific-looking chick in room 424, so I thought I'd come in and take a look.
The Panic in Needle Park, a terrific Al Pacino performance from early in his career, our video pick of the week. Now let's recap the movies we reviewed on this show. A split vote on Brian De Palma's Carlito's Way, with Roger enjoying Al Pacino's rehabilitated gangster portrayal. I didn't care about his character and was turned off by many early scenes in the film. 2 thumbs up, however, way up for Jane Campion's The Piano, a most powerful love triangle set in the New Zealand jungle. Holly Hunter, Harvey Keitel, and Sam Neill co-star in one of the year's best films. A split vote on My Life from writer-director Bruce Joel Rubin, with a dying Michael Keaton trying to record his life for his yet-to-be-born son. I found it to be a thoughtful tearjerker. Roger, however, thought it was sabotage by its humorous moments. Another split vote on The Three Musketeers. I was surprised and really enjoyed this remake, certainly a lot more than Roger, enough for me to recommend it. And we split again on Jamon Jamon, the Spanish sex comedy that captured Roger's fancy, but I found it to be just a big tease with one silly scene after another. Boy, we are in disagreement.
So, the piano we agree on,
yes.
And I hope people see Carlito's Way. That's it for this week. Next week we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including Addams Family Values, starring Angelica Houston, Raul Julia, and Christopher Lloyd, and The Saint of Fort Washington, starring Matt Dillon and Danny Glover, as homeless people who stick together on the streets of New York. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
Easy Spirit looks like a pump, feels like a sneaker. Dress shoes with all the cushioning and support of athletic shoes, now in new colors for fall. The new Remington Triple Foil, the only shaver with 3 narrow micro screens. If you can grow it, we can shave it. Remington Triple Foil. St. Ives Swiss Formula Collagen Elastin Lotion, made to work in the harsh Swiss Alps. St. Ives Swiss Formula relieves dry skin instantly, naturally. Fashion Bug for the latest in junior, Mrs. Plus, even girls and men's fashions. 1,200 stores coast to coast. Fashion Bug fits your life.